Hello, to my fellow KW stakeholders. Of course, it's Aaron Kaufman, Chief Stakeholder Evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia, bringing you another episode of the My 401 KW interview series where we talk to some of our top profit share earners and stakeholder-minded associates. And today we got a real treat for you. We are going to be talking to somebody in KW that I think matches or even exceeds my enthusiasm for profit share. The incredible Mr. Gary Segal. How you doing today, sir?
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks for matching my enthusiasm there. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Hey, Gary, look, first of all, great to talk to you, man. It's been a long time since you and I have had a conversation. I know you and I could probably talk literally for days about profit share and the opportunity that it presents for our associates. But I want to get right into this, okay? Before we get into all your insights and things like that, I think people want to understand, your journey of how you got to where you are today. I know you're an OP, owner of market centers. You still, I think you and your wife still run a productive real estate team. Tell everybody, your story. How you got into real estate. I know your wife came into KW first, but talk about your journey into KW, how you ended up at our company, and then we'll get into, profit share and that journey that you and your wife have been on. All right.
Sure. Back in 1988, my wife was in a little company out here called Merrill Lynch.
Yeah.
And she sort of followed her mentor to going to RE/MAX.
Yeah.
I went with her while she went to RE/MAX, and as I listened, I didn't know anything about real estate culture and the different companies. And I said, well, this seems like the best company if you're going to do a lot of business because you get to pay a fixed amount.
Absolutely.
So we ended up joining, and it went pretty well for about 12 years. Now, it's funny, back then, I don't know why I thought this. I was never really worried about being number one. I just wanted to be number two for 25 years.
Yeah.
And
like any good husband.
So I ended up joining, and it evolved into hearing about this funny company out west called Keller Williams. And I was just curious why agents were so happy.
Yeah.
And when we ended up being pretty successful at RE/MAX. After a number of years, we were number one, but real estate was very different back then.
Yeah.
And we've seen, 3 or 4 evolutions. In fact, I pulled out a paper today that I found last night called, you're calling it the Kaufman Quotient.
I remember. Yes, sir.
I don't know how long ago that was because there is no date on it. I obviously got it from the internet, but it was a way of figuring out how much profit share. So we joined Keller Williams, and I was fascinated by the profit share program, and it seemed that not many people joined because of that. Now, back then, it was 88. I think Keller Williams profit shared $4 million that year.
Yeah.
For the whole company.
Sure.
But when we went to a family reunion and saw people standing up at the microphone and discussing an issue, and I think back then the issue was whether or not you had to sponsor people to be on the AOC, I saw that there really was a participation of the agents in the company.
Yeah.
And I could not figure out why nobody was interested in this. So of course, I was there 8 months and I didn't get any profit share yet. So I didn't quite understand it the way I do now. And then
you joined KW what year, Gary? You joined KW what year?
2001.
Here's the truth. We launched in 83. We were not profitable till 97. Okay. So the fact is, profit share wasn't the driver for KW, right? It was, and I know I've heard you speak before, it was the training, it was the culture, right? Profit share was never, certainly for the first, 20 years, not something that brought people to KW, right? It was a feeling. People, I've heard you speak about how agents at KW were sharing ideas and working together. There was this amazing culture, but we didn't really talk a lot about how profit share was kind of the catalyst for that, right? It just was what it was. And people like you that were at Remax, having a high level experience, earning 100% of your commission, started to realize, wow, there's this company out there where agents actually are working together, and that you could see the value in that. Correct?
Right. I mean, understand it very differently now, because now we all benefit when somebody does well.
Yes, exactly.
We're the only place that happens. I mean, because our competition is all agents, right? Including the ones in our office.
Yep.
So we're all on our own, but in other places, they don't benefit. Those places, the people don't drive up the profit, so you can drive up your profit share.
Yeah, people don't know, Gary. You had a background. You worked with Amway, right, for a period of time before you came.
Exactly. But
so for a person from Amway to not even be on their radar, right? I mean, that says a lot about how much we probably didn't even talk about profit share for a guy like you who had come from a place like Amway and understood that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it had sort of a negative connotation, but it was I mean, when I looked at the profit share, I thought it was a perfect business.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand why it wasn't working for me until I started talking to people about it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it makes a difference. And even when somebody joined and would sponsor somebody, they wouldn't get it till all of a sudden they go, $900 showed up on my bank account. How did this happen?
Exactly. I mean, it almost became sort of a side conversation where people weren't even intentional about it. It just sort of happened organically. Yeah.
I remember talking at a ALC workshop and asking like 300 people in the room. I said, how many people here joined because of profit share? And about 2 hands went up.
Exactly.
They came because of education. They came because of culture, but didn't understand how the two tied together.
Exactly.
And I thought all the agents are competing for business, and I'm never going to get to the top of that heap.
Yep.
So in the profit share, it was a little easier because it was a more finite pool and a couple of people who caught on. And that's the way it's worked out. I remember looking at our 2 profit shares and thinking yours is upside down from mine.
Yep.
And we both need to be doing more of what each other does.
Exactly.
In order to do that, because I think now I probably go down 25 levels.
Wow. Now, what do you mean you go down 25 levels?
Meaning that you get paid on profit share from 7 levels, but I've got agents underneath me that are 15 levels away. Right.
So the Gary Segal and your wife's name's Chris. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right, but the influence, right? Just from you guys getting purposeful has led to. I know you said you had about, last time I saw you speak was in 2006. I think you had about 3,000 people in your tree. But my guess is the influence and the effect of Gary and Chris joining KW is probably brought on over time 10,000 agents to KW. Even though you're only earning off of 7 levels, my guess is all the people you brought on have brought on people. And, you've made a huge impact, not just on your profit share, but on the company's profitability. Yeah.
Right. And mine was sort of focused in a number of market centers, but in a certain area, and yours was wider.
Yes.
And now it's worked out. I mean, you've got a guy who you sponsored somebody who gave you 300 second level.
Mean, I don't want to brag, Gary, but Brent Mitchell, who I brought to KW, just won the Growth Partner of the Year award for Keller Williams last year, sponsored 182 people last year to KW, and has sponsored, I'm going to say, over 2,500 agents to KW directly off the internet. Now, keep in mind, Gary, these were all predominantly brand new agents off the internet. And like you said, they're in, my downline's probably in 300 plus KW market centers. And I think people need to understand that you don't need to sponsor 2,500 people to KW to create a huge amount of profit share. I mean, you and your wife have probably sponsored how many people to KW directly?
Probably 30-some.
30-something. And just remind everybody again how much profit share you and your wife have earned lifetime?
Lifetime? For a little over $4 million.
$4 million, right? And so obviously there's 2 components of earning profit share, Gary. There is attracting people to KW. And obviously the type of people you were attracting, I'm going to guess, were producing agents, okay, that were respected in their market and were influential to bring people on. But also Pennsylvania, pretty darn profitable region of Keller Williams, right? So that also plays into it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's 11,000 agents in Pennsylvania region now, and there were 8,200 agents when I joined in the country.
Right. Exactly.
So it's almost crazy.
Yeah.
One of the most productive, two people made the hugest difference in what I did. One is a person who's been my partner for a long time, Michael Beer, and the other was Sue Adler, who was an agent who lived with, in our area when we were at Remax, and she got divorced and met a guy and moved to North Jersey and was starting there. We were at a OP mastermind, and I remember Mark Willis, because he was in charge back then, said at the end of this 2-day seminar, he goes, Gary Keller is looking for people who actually make money on this internet thing. If you know anybody who can do that, please put their name on the back of a card. And he had his first tech mastermind. And I put her name on the back of a card. Now, I thought Mark Willis was amazing for doing that. But when she decided to join, because she didn't like Remax up there, and there wasn't enough, she was at another company and it wasn't working out, she actually went and found the people to open an office in North Jersey.
Wow.
So now I would say in our downline is 10% of that region.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's hard to believe that New York was the last place that Keller Williams went.
Yeah.
It's not logical, but it was such an opportunity. It was unbelievable.
That's incredible. And then the other person, I heard an interview with you. You met a guy that owned an inspection company. I believe you had lunch with him, and he ended up.
He was my wife's manager when she first got into real estate, and it was 13 years later, and he was looking for an opportunity.
Yeah.
And we talked about Keller Williams, and he looked at it, and he happened to be going to Texas, so he went and actually got the full dose of Keller Williams and couldn't believe it. But he comes back and goes, well, I'd be interested if the main line, which is the wealthy area right outside Philadelphia, was available. And back then it was. And we started a market center. We didn't know it was going to be hard going into a market where a competitor had 80%. But
it's crazy today, Gary, right? To look at where we are, and when people say, God, the opportunity to build profit share was so much greater back when Gary Segal joined KW. I mean, the fact is, Gary, you had to convince people that we were even a legitimate business model for a real estate company. And today we're number one in every category, and yet we're still the best kept secret in real estate. And so I know you would agree with me that right now, particularly in a shifting industry and a shifting market that is, seems like we're getting attacked from every angle with lawsuits and tech disruptors. I mean, call me crazy, Gary. I'm thinking our value proposition is more valuable than it's ever been in this moment. We are a training and consulting company where agents actually have a real incentive to work together and care about each other. I mean, to me, this is our moment. You agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the person we ended up selling that first market center to, Mike McCann, the top agent in Philadelphia. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, he's probably 8th level to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we spoke to him the first time in 2004. He didn't join till a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And has taken off. And now, of course, he wishes he had done it way back then. But
yeah, I'm a huge Mike McCann fan. I mean, that guy he bleeds KW more, almost as much as anybody else in KW. And not only is he a legend in the real estate industry. I mean, you can imagine the influence that Mike McCann has and the effect that he has when he came to KW, and how that's kind of had a ripple effect through the profitability of the market centers that a lot of your downlines are in. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was great on an OP call the other day. He goes, there's some controversy today about how agents are going to get paid. And he goes, I can tell you all of my listings will pay a commission.
That's awesome. Promise. I love that. So, I love that.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you go, well, that's hundreds and hundreds. So
yeah, totally. Now, did you know from day one, Gary, did you understand stacking yourself under your wife? Did you understand from the get-go that, hey, everybody we sponsor as a married couple needs to go under you? Or did you guys kind of figure that out on your own as time went on?
I feel like I've always had that and have used that to improve it. And I would guess that it's raised our profit share by about 80%. I mean, when you say it's a perfect business, two agents pay one cap because they're married, but I was always at first just looking to try to get the cap back.
Sure.
And I paid that cap for 20 years. So.
Exactly.
But when we passed the 4 million mark, I was talking to my coach and I said, well, I could call up and I could complain today because the profit share is really way off and the business is down and you can't be off 2 million sales and not have it affect everybody's market. Or I could rejoice and be thankful every day that we earned, $4 million and that $20,000 cap has turned into $200,000 a year for 20 years.
Absolutely.
I wish I knew now what I wish I knew then what I know now, but.
Well, that's why we're doing these calls, Gary, because 40 years, look, we've been around for 40 years and I would tell you probably 80% of our existing agents don't really understand the opportunity that is KW profit share. And at a time like this, when, look, we're not here to hide behind the market of the moment. I mean, profit share is down, but we still gave back almost 100 million last year in profit share. My guess is we'll do the same this year. And what I want people to understand is, even though profit share is down, don't you think that profit share money means a lot more to our associates in this moment than it did back when the market was exploding? I mean, look, my profit share is down 50%, but the money that I earn right now means 10 times more to me because we're in a very unstable time. And to know that even in a shifting market, I can count on having my mortgage and my car payment and my power bill paid by KW. You know what? I'm grateful. And I know that, as Gary would say, as Gary Keller, that is, would say, look, the greatest shift of wealth and opportunity are in down cycles, not up cycles. And these are the moments, Gary, that I think the people that decide to get purposeful about profit share are going to look back in 5, 10, 20 years and say, thank God I got purposeful about profit share in a down market. Because the agents we get to KW in this market, not only are they going to be grateful to you because they're going to look back in a couple of years and say, man, I can't imagine where my business would have been had I not joined KW. But when this market shifts back, the people that survive are going to thrive and be drivers and trailblazers for KW for many, many years to come. Yeah.
I agree. I don't think that this person in profit share has been found yet.
Well, I disagree. I mean, I think it's Brent Mitchell, who's my recruit, but might take some time for him to rise up to the number one ranking. But yes, I agree. We and certainly with growth share, right, and the opportunities that we have in 50 plus countries, right. There's probably somebody in another country that someday, probably sooner than we think, because as we know, growth share is actually revenue share. Probably somebody internationally that's going to be making more money than Linda McKissick in the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah. So
an incredible deadline.
She does. But what people need to understand about her and Jimmy, who, by the way, I'm grateful for. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. Gary, I stand on your shoulders, and I can't wait for the next round of people who stand on my shoulders. But people don't understand that Jimmy and Linda have only sponsored 33 people to KW directly. And now they have well over 10,000 people in their tree. And I think people need to really get this idea that the saying at KW is, if you build it wide, time will take it deep. And that's a shout out to Dave Jenks, God bless him, who came up with that line. But the fact is, Linda and Jimmy earn, I'm going to say 80% of their profit share money off their 5th, 6th, and 7th levels. And my guess is you and your wife do the same. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things, the legend of Gary Segal, and just so you know, Gary, I mean, I've been hearing this for years from people that know you and are in your office, that you're kind of like the beautiful mind guy, where you literally every month can calculate your profit share almost to the cent, right? That's how obsessed you are with profit share, right? Like, do you still do that every month? Do you still try to calculate your profit share? And
easier and easier ways to do it since we were working on this, because mine was concentrated in certain market centers.
Yeah.
I would add up the profit from those market centers, and that's how I could predict. I mean, I know what's the date today? The 18th.
18th. It's about to update.
Yeah, a couple days they're going to do it. I know that I will have $12,000 deposited in our account.
Right. Which is amazing. I mean, I would have guessed back in 21 that was probably 50,000. In March for March, right? But hey, $12,000 in profit share, right? In a shifting market for not doing anything, and as you would say, there's no cost to run that business, right? You're not paying insurance, any of that stuff, right? This is $12,000 in passive income. And if I do I don't know if I can do the math correctly, but I think if you take $12,000 and you try to equate how much money you would have had to invest at 4% annually to earn that money passively, I think if we do that math, I'm going to say that you would have had to invest, and maybe I'm crazy, but I think it's $48 million annually at 4% to earn $12,000 in passive income in a month. I mean, think about that, Gary, right? Think about what that actually means, right? No continued capital investment, no risk. You can never lose that. You can never lose money. Yeah.
Great.
That's amazing, right?
Oh, beyond belief.
But it had to start, right? It had to start with being intentional. And so go back to, look, you were, I'm not going to say you were lucky to sponsor Sue Adler and this other person because you were intentional about it. But go back to the moment when you said, you know what? I need to get intentional about this, and talk a little bit about just the conversations that you had. I mean, I know Sue Adler, you got her to, and that's the great thing about KW, it's not our job to recruit, right? It's our job to excite and refer. You were lucky to be able to refer Sue Adler to an event, right, where she was surrounded by amazing people, and that kind of helped her see the value in KW. But talk about your mindset and maybe some of the conversations you were having to help people understand who KW was and what we were doing moving forward.
I can certainly remember a conversation with Sue saying, Sue, who do you know? And there was a person, and now we're partners in a market center in North Jersey. And then a month later said, Sue, that really worked out. Who else do you know? And she said, well, there's this guy who's a couple towns north, and that's the way it works in New Jersey, where you live in a little town. And she said, when I have somebody for up there, or he has somebody for down here, we refer to each other, and he writes this great blog. And he runs an independent. So we went and met him, and he was interested, and it turns out that was Al Donahue.
Oh, wow. He, by the way, who runs some of the most profitable market centers in Keller Williams in New Jersey. Right. I mean, I love that guy. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there's a market center there with 500 people. I bet 250 are in my downline. A seventh level agent in that office, was $1,000 a year. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
But it all started because of that conversation and calling her up and saying, who else do you know? And thinking, neither one of us had an idea that was going to work out that way.
Well, it sounds a lot like how we train real estate agents to generate business too, right? I mean, it's the same conversation. Get into relationships, right? And I think a lot of our agents, and look, I get it. In this market, most of our agents, are just, fighting for their lives and trying to sell houses. I mean, very few of them are thinking about profit share in this moment because they're just trying to survive the market of the moment. But if all they did was say, hey, look, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate or interested in changing real careers or being a real estate agent? I mean, just that additional line alone built into their natural conversations with not just, home buyers and sellers, but people in their databases, right? Their clients. I guarantee you there are people on this call right now that have people in their databases right now that are considering changing careers and coming into real estate. And I got to tell you a quick story, Gary. I posted about this a couple of weeks ago, but one of the people that Brent Mitchell sponsored to KW off the internet, okay, a brand new part-time agent who came into Keller Williams, I don't know how many years ago, was a guy by the name of David Becker and Karen Becker, his wife. Do you happen to know those names?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're David Becker's now the OP of the Harrisburg Market Center, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So I want people to really understand that.
Good team.
Yeah. Look, Gary Keller said this thing many years ago that really set my world on fire. He said, look, many of the leaders of our industry 5 years from now, they're not in the business yet. And so when I look back, literally now I'm coming up on 20 years of building my profit share tree. Some of the people that I sponsored to KW as brand new agents off the internet are people like David Becker, or people like Liz Landry, who runs KW Talent, or people like Josh Anderson, a top agent in Tennessee, or Brent Mitchell. And I think sometimes a lot of our associates, they hear stories from people like you and Linda, and they say, well, look, I'm not a top agent. I don't garner the respect of someone like a Gary Segal or a Linda McKissick, and I don't feel comfortable trying to attract top producing agents to KW because I just don't feel valid. And look, that's a total limiting belief, number one. But number two is, if that's how you feel, go find the leaders of this industry 5 years from now. You get a brand new agent to KW. And just think about this, Gary. How about a brand new agent who's 25 years old, who's tech savvy? Okay. How many people at Family Reunion this past year were on stage, $20-30 million in production in their 20s through TikTok and Instagram? And what people need to get, and I've heard you say this before, I say it all the time, a capper is a capper is a capper. Now, obviously, influential agents, top agents attract top agents. And that's why you have made $4 million since 2001, and why I've made almost 1 million, even though I've sponsored, 100 times more people than you have to KW. Obviously, attracting top agents is going to pay off quicker because they're going to attract more people to KW. But people need to understand that if you don't feel comfortable going after top agents, go find the leaders of this industry 5 years from now that are not in the business yet. Who knows who they might become and who they might attract in their 10, 20, 40-year career at KW, right?
Unbelievable. Oh,
yeah. So, Gary, you're an OP, yeah? You're OP of how many market centers right now?
Just one.
Okay, just one. Okay. So in this moment, right, as an OP and as a top profit share earner in KW, we're in a very interesting moment as a company, as an industry, and particularly as it pertains to profit share, right?
Correct.
Now, what are your thoughts as a person that wears both of those hats, okay? What are your thoughts about the role that profit share plays in the culture and the growth of your market center? And how do you balance this moment that we're in? We don't have to get too deep into the moment we're in and some of the conversations that are happening, but as an OP is one of our top profit share earners, how do you look at profit share as a leverage tool for growing your market center and building a market center that agents will never want or need to leave? How will that change over time? Do you think it's going to change over time? Yeah.
Yes. I think that the industry is evolving, of course, and that teams are becoming more popular.
Yes.
And more agents should do that. And we were, until the last debacle, we were in a market where, what they say, half the business was done by agents who do one deal or no deals.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a pretty scary thing. I think the bar to entry is a little low.
Sure. I agree.
To make it professional, because it's just the way that it works. And now with this these lawsuits, Prospective
So as an
team,
owner, do you see profit share as still as that rock, as a rock of growth and retention and culture for your market center moving forward, or
yes,
do you
and
see
because
it
it's a
more as an
mature market
expense?
center, there's a higher percentage of people, but that percentage is always going to be the same.
Sure.
So I look at the growth differently. I remember when I went to my first mega camp, and we're talking 300 people.
Yeah.
And I go up and introduce myself to Gary Keller at a break. And I don't know why I even said this. I said, "Oh, I came from Remax, and we get 80% of our business from past clients and referrals." And he looks up and he goes, "Oh, so you don't prospect?" And it really took me back, and I didn't understand it for years. But of course, all I did is open my mouth, and he knew exactly what I needed.
Of course.
And I wish I had done more of that now.
Yeah.
Because it could have been even better. But I think that the turbocharger has been leadership.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Meaning if you find somebody who's a leader, that's what's going to make Al Donahue is going to make all the difference.
Do you find yourself as an OP who's a high level profit share earner? I mean, I know you're I mean, do you find yourself trying to inject that enthusiasm into your market center, right? Because not every market center OPs and ownership teams or leadership teams have the same feelings around profit share that we have. And so I'm just curious how that your enthusiasm for profit share shows up in your market center. Is that something that you're intentional about, or is it just something that just happens?
No, it is intentional, and it is natural because that's the way I feel. Meaning, I'm a connector, creator. That's just the way I approach the world.
Yeah,
and are always looking for that, but it's never enough excitement. And we profit shared over $300,000 last year. I go, if you're a new agent, it's easy to tell a new agent. Ask an agent in another company, how do they do their profit share?
Yeah.
Just an innocent question. But the questions are part of the key to moving forward by asking people questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think you and I both agree that culture, right, is actually our secret weapon. Is that a fair statement, would you say, Gary?
It is. I can remember the first time I saw Mo Anderson. That's what put me over the edge.
What was it about that? What was it? Yeah. What was it that she said?
I walked out and said, I believed her. I didn't think she was selling a corporate thing. This is what she really believed.
Yeah.
And, she's lived up to be that person.
Well, and that's where, this is a moment. Okay. I mean, I'm more committed than I've ever been. And I believe that we will no doubt emerge from this moment as a much stronger real estate company. And I always think back to a saying that I heard from Diana Kokoska many years ago. She said, you got to get people into pain to create change. Right. And, look, you and I, we got to experience the glory, not going to say the glory years of KW, but we got to experience KW taking over the industry, right? We were Keller who, but we always had this confidence about us like, hey, we're the highest evolution of the industry. And I heard you say once, Remax kind of took over the industry by saying, when David Lineker said, we're going to treat our agents like customers. And then Gary Keller said, I'm actually going to take it a step further. I'm going to treat my agents like partners, right? And that's really the essence of how we took over this industry was, Gary's abundant mindset of, look, brand is not driving growth. It's the agents. And if I treat them like partners and I share my profits with them and I empower them to make decisions and I create a culture where agents have a true incentive to work together and care about each other, right? We're going to take over this industry. Now, my concern today, Gary, is that I think that connection between profit share and culture has been lost a little bit, right? I mean, there's a great saying, we're on the third generation of Keller Williams, Gary, okay? There's a lot of people, and I would say an overwhelming majority of the people in our company that don't know what it's like to be Keller who, that weren't in a room with 100, 200 people and Gary Keller and Mark Willis and Mo Anderson and Mary Tennant, that don't understand our origination story and how profit share and culture and treat, how those two things are forever linked. And, at a time when we have some of these new flashy objects, okay, new models, new virtual models that tout revenue share, right? I think what I get concerned about, Gary, is that some of our people in our company, they feel like by talking about profit share, somehow we're highlighting some inadequacy in our model as it compares, let's just say, to revenue share. And I think we all can agree. And I'm not scared to talk about it. In this moment, my guess is that a virtual rev share company, from recruit to recruit, you might make more money off of an agent at a rev share company versus an agent at KW if you're not in a highly profitable market center. I think that's a fair thing to say. But here's what I'm saying. You said it already on this call. How many people come to KW for profit share, right? Very few people. They come here for the culture. But here's the key, Gary. Our culture starts with profit share, right? There's a reason our culture is inherently different. And I want people to understand that by not talking about profit share, even if you're not profitable as a market center, if you don't talk about profit share, how in the world are you going to communicate our culture to your own associates if they don't get that they're vested in their fellow stakeholders, right? Whereas at a revenue sharing company, revenue share doesn't create culture, okay? It creates a downline relationship. And I would say in this moment, right now, our culture is the number one reason to be with KW. So if we're not going to talk about profit share, how can we talk about the number one reason to be at KW? What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, no, I believe still culture and education is what draws people.
Right. But you would agree the culture is different, right? The culture is different at KW, and it's not because we just have a bunch of nice people at KW. It's not just because of Mo Anderson. It's because we actually have a financial incentive to help each other. Yeah,
right. It is all those pieces. It is all those pieces that come together that make it the right place.
Exactly.
Meaning it supports the culture, but for others, you have to have a profit share.
Well, sure. But imagine if our founding agents, okay, like Gary Gentry, imagine if they said, hey, you know what? Let's just not talk about profit share because we're not profitable. Now, where will we be 40 years later if the founding agents at KW weren't purposeful about talking about profit share and the idea and how it impacts culture and what it means to be a stakeholder? I don't think we would be where we are today. And I just want to encourage people in this moment when, let's say, 20 to 30% of our offices right now are not profitable, right? If they want to become profitable, right? And more importantly, Gary, inspire their agents to think and act like stakeholders and to grow it, they got to paint a vision, right? They got to paint a vision for what it's going to look like in the future. And so as an OP, even though your market center is profitable, right? My guess is only about 30% of your people participate in it, right? That seems to be the company average.
It might be 36.
Right, 36. Now that's impressive. That's a high number. Okay.
That's a high number, right?
That is a high number. But how do you guys as a market center, I mean, it's probably easier to talk about profit share when people are earning profit share and someone like you can walk into a stakeholder meeting and said, I made $12,000 this month. Okay. That had a huge impact on me when I was in Atlanta. I mean, I come from the most profitable market at KW. If I hadn't seen that stuff, if I hadn't, Sean Rawls wasn't my OP, and if the Peachtree Road Market Center wasn't a top 10 market center, probably would have been less inspired to get purposeful about it. But what do you say to the market centers and OPs that are not profitable right now or not very profitable? What do you tell them about how to get people excited about profit share, even though in the moment they might not be profitable or very profitable right now?
Well, I just went through with our leadership team leader 30, 60, 90. And it was amazing to me that after all these years, you could learn so much.
Yeah.
And one of the people who teach it is my coach, Brian Martin.
Yeah.
But that has been astounding over the years when you think about what you've gotten out of that. I think we're in a better position now than we've ever been. I I mean, I'm excited. It doesn't matter that we're 10 times the size.
Yeah.
I believe we still have the potential, and where our market center is such an established area. It's going, I think there's just as much potential as there was the day we bought it, and we've doubled it.
Well, and Gary, I got a hashtag that I'm trying to get to stick. And that hashtag is We Got Scale. And I would tell you, growth can be messy.
I need a shirt already.
Yeah, I need that. I need to make a shirt out of it. But here's the thing, right? When you're the number one real estate company with the most agents and the most data, led by, let's just get real, the Steve Jobs of the real estate industry, who's driven by a big why of wanting to protect and elevate the role of the true real estate professional in an industry that's basically trying to turn them into low-paid door openers. When you want to do something, you can do it bigger and faster than any other real estate company, right? And, and just look at our technology, right? I mean, people, a lot of people like to poo-poo, command or whatever, but I think people that understand what we're doing and the long game we're playing and what our purpose is, and what our community and culture is, they need to understand that, as Gary would say, there is no catch-up. Okay, we are so far ahead of our competition, and we are driven by purpose and community that if they wanted to try to emulate us or try to catch up with us, we're so far ahead of them, and we have such scale that if we just keep remembering what our true north is, I don't think anybody's going to ever be able to catch us as long as our culture keeps up with our growth. Correct?
I would agree 100%.
And that's the biggest challenge.
Right. I mean, it wasn't profit share that attracted me. It was the culture.
Right.
It was people being honest and actually knowing what they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So are you still being intentional about growing your downline? I mean, I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but are you still doing things today to grow your personal profit share, whether it be personally sponsoring people or inspiring people that you've sponsored at KW to be purposeful? I mean, what are you doing today?
The thing that I did the most of was, because I didn't want to prospect, it was easier for me to help other people.
Yes, I'm right there with you.
I sort of played on that, and it worked. And it worked for them, and it works for me.
Yeah.
But
so what are you talking? So what do you do? So what do you talk? What are the conversations you're having with, and how do you support the people that are in your profit share tree? How do you excite them or support them to get purposeful about it?
Well, that's such a big group that it's hard to wrap your arms around.
Well, sure.
But it's interesting that what pops up are the people that want to do something, and that all of a sudden there's a thing that'll grow for a while. Yeah. And that's the way that it's going to expand, by helping those other leaders.
Absolutely.
And I remember sitting before we had an office in Pennsylvania, sitting around Mike Campo's dining room table with Rich McCarthy.
Yeah.
And he had made like $10,000 in profit share the month before. And I said, Rich, how'd you do that? And he goes, well, I have 10 OPs, and I have 8 OPs and 8 team leaders.
That's awesome.
So it just sort of registered in the back of my mind. And then later, as it goes on, now I've got that, and it makes such a difference. And those are the people you want to pour into.
Well, we talk about, the parallels between building your profit share and growing your real estate business are obvious, right? Find your wealth determiners, right? I was lucky enough, and there's a great quote from Gary Keller, find people that are better than you than what you do, right? And now I was lucky enough to find the best at what I do, okay, which is Brent Mitchell. But the great thing about Brent Mitchell is he pays it forward with his recruits. And I always joke with people, my title used to be I'd sponsored the most people in the history of Keller Williams, okay? Now my new title is I've sponsored the 6th most people in the history of Keller Williams, and 3 of the 5 people above me are in my profit share tree. And I'm just going to say the other 2, we taught our systems to. Okay. Right. So that's what, success through others, finding people that do things better than you, support them, nurture them, because look, I don't like banging the phones. Okay. I don't like cold calling, agents and trying to recruit them to KW. I happen to find a couple of people that did the heavy lifting for me, and I try to support them as much as I can. But that frees me up, Gary, to do what I love to do and build the life by design that I want to have, which is teaching and traveling and all the things that I get to do. But it doesn't take a lot of people to create that kind of momentum, right? And so once again, I want people to understand that when you hear someone like a Gary Segal talk, or you hear somebody like me talk, or Linda McKissick talk, sometimes all it takes is one or two key people at the right time. And sometimes they're not even the people. They bring on the people that happen to be the people too, right?
Yeah. As soon as it gets away from your first level, you have no control over who those people are.
Exactly.
You just got to be able to identify them and then act on them.
Absolutely. And, I know you can appreciate this analogy as an OP in this moment who has all of the risk and who has all of the capital investment. You can appreciate the idea of owning a virtual Keller Williams Market Center, right? That has no continued capital investment, that has no risk, that knows no geographic boundaries, right? I mean, that's what I love about, what I've been able to do is that, I own a virtual Keller Williams Market Center right now that has 1,300 agents in it. It's in over 300 markets. And yeah, some of these markets are not profitable, but the way I look at it, Gary, is like investments. Okay. You got some that are up, you got some that are down. And yeah, a lot of my profit share tree are right now in market centers, particularly out west, that are having some issues with profitability. But my guess is, Gary, those are going to be the market centers that come back first. Okay. Because when you're not profitable, there's only one way you can go, and that's up. Right. So I get excited when I think about the future growth and potential and the people that I've sponsored at KW, the people that are in my profit share tree today who survived this moment. Think about how they're going to be set up to grow and thrive for years to come.
Crazy.
Right. Yep. So Gary, as we kind of wind up this call, let's just try to give, we talk a lot about why profit share and what it means to you. Let's talk a little bit about how. How does somebody who, let's say an agent in your office comes to you and they say, look, Gary, I'm just blown away by how much profit share money you earn. I want to get intentional about building my profit share. What would you tell somebody in your office who wants to be intentional about building their profit share? What are some actual action steps that you would tell that person to do to start getting serious about it?
It'd be to make up a dream list of who you'd like to be in business with.
Yep.
And then to approach it slowly, but that is the way that it works. And it's hard to make those first calls, but I'm always looking for a way to engage people in a conversation.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. And part of that is by asking questions.
Do you think it matters that they're an agent that other agents respect?
Oh, no. I think in the end we were open to all agents. The ones that people respect are the ones that are going to do the best.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you would agree, and that
for the right reason.
Yeah. I mean, look, and I want people to understand that I think oftentimes there's this misnomer that to get respect from other agents, it's only about production, right? No, that you have to be a top producing agent to get respect, right? So what if you're, an emerging agent or a newer agent who wants to get purposeful? How do you think that agent can garner some respect from other agents in their market?
Well, I'll say this: if you took all the agents in Keller Williams and look at the top 100 agents, that is some of the most amazing talent. People like Mike McCann and Sue Adler. We could name a lot of others.
Sure.
If you sorted that list by the top profit shares, how many of the top 100 agents do you think are on that list?
None of them. Very few of them. Actually one. Right. Sue Adler.
One, which is Sue Adler, which is the first one.
Yeah.
But I would say that when you're talking to somebody, I'd actually say that if you're a top agent, you're going to be focused on all these things, but you're not going to be worth anything for profit share.
Right.
So the people that are worth the most are 99% other people besides the top agents.
That's a great point.
Here's an opportunity for you if you're influential. And I remember somebody hearing me say, who's the top agent in the office? And I said, well, the best agent for that person is not necessarily a top producer. It's the person who's going to take care of them.
Yeah.
So the top people are not the top people in everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and and look, you don't have to be a $1 million agent to know how they do business, right? I mean, let's get real. If all you did was read the MREA book and attend training classes and, buy into our culture and seek out knowledge and referrals outside of your market and go to family reunion and mega camp, I mean, I don't think there's any conversation you probably can't have with any agent at any level. But I think the best part about attracting people to KW, Gary, is that it's not your job to recruit. You have salaried leaders whose sole purpose it is to build wealth for you. And whether it's about referring somebody to a team leader or whether it's about just inviting somebody to a training event. I mean, imagine, Gary, if somebody could get an agent to Mega Camp this year. Do you think that agent that goes to Mega Camp is going to come back a Keller Williams agent in this moment? Yep. Right. And, I think people need to understand that, look, building your profit share doesn't require a capital investment. Okay. I've spent a lot of money on internet lead gen. Okay. But I'm pretty comfortable when I say the couple $100,000 I invested in internet lead gen. I feel like I've already gotten that money back already now 5 times over, not to mention what it will be over time. But and look, a lot of our market centers will, and I don't want to speak for every market center, but a lot of them, if you have a top agent in your market that you want to invite to one of our top training events, most of them will probably help you financially do that. But if the decision came down and you said, look, you know what, I'm just going to spend $1,000 of my own money to pay for somebody that I respect to come to Mega Camp this year. And I won't even try to recruit them. I'll just invite them from a mindset of abundance. Mm-hmm. Look, if that person comes back and joins KW, you think that $1,000 investment in your profit share business is going to pay itself off? I mean, right? Right. So if you don't have the respect, or you're not somebody that feels comfortable trying to recruit people, right? Leverage KW, leverage the ecosystem, or go after them on the internet. I mean, or on social media. I mean, I can't tell you how many of our young agents are just killing it with profit share by simply, leveraging Instagram and TikTok. I mean, it's just amazing. I think it's so much easier today because, Gary, we're the number one freaking real estate company on the planet. It's not like, I mean, we're the best place for women. We're the best place for veterans. We're the best place for college grads. We're the best place for diversity. I mean, it's not that hard to attract people to KW if you don't feel comfortable doing it face to face, right?
Right. It's just a matter of telling that story personally to the person.
Well, you got to be intentional, right? I mean, did you ever have, when you started, did you have a lot of our agents have listing, their listing boards or their, pending boards. Did you have, you mentioned it early on. Did you have a list of people that you focused on? Yeah.
Yes.
And what did your system look like back then? I mean, was it?
Well, it was almost the same as the way I built my business, which was to get in front of people. And I didn't like prospecting, so I found an alternate way to do it to attract business.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we did in profit share.
Well, that's how you got to Adler, right?
That are attractive and to treat everybody with respect.
Absolutely.
So that you're well liked because you treat people with respect. That's probably the biggest key.
Well, people do business with people they like, right?
Right.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of and I think it becomes so complicated for people, right? But it's actually so simple, right? Because the fact is, all you got to do is excite and refer. I mean, that's how I built my entire profit share tree. And I think it's, go ahead, Gary. Yeah.
I was going to say, and be aware, because when I would speak to people, you can't ask somebody to join Keller Williams every time you talk to them, or they're going to avoid your call and you're going to miss a deal.
Exactly.
So it's finding that right balance.
Right. And as real estate agents, do we walk around telling people, hire me, hire me, hire me? No, we get into relationships, right? We show value, we commit to mastery, we find their pain, we offer them a solution, we find out, what makes them happy, and we show them how to smile more, and then we wait for the opportunity that they need, right? The gap that we can fill. And I think sometimes we get so complicated with it, we try to make it a salesy thing. And that's one of the reasons I went to the internet, Gary, is that, I tell people, if you're to get purposeful about profit share, you got to think about a lead generation source that's a fit for your personality, but more importantly, is sustainable over time. I mean, look, in real estate, you can build a huge real estate business, obviously through relationships, but you can also build a huge real estate business through internet lead gen, through cold calling FSBOs, expired listings, all of that stuff. And it's the same thing with profit share. I didn't feel comfortable trying to recruit people face to face. And look, I had many limiting beliefs when I started this journey, Gary. I was never a mega agent. Okay. I didn't feel valid for whatever reason as a quote unquote recruiter. So I had to find something that was a fit for my personality. And I think at the end of the day, Gary, I'm a teacher. Okay. I'm a teacher. Okay. And I'm not a salesman. I'm a teacher. And what I loved about internet recruiting, the most important thing about internet recruiting for me is that they were all initiating the conversation with me. Okay. I'm not calling them. They're reaching out to me. I'm circle prospecting the #1 real estate company on the planet. They're applying to KW. Now the dynamic shifts, right? Now it's not about please join KW. It's about, hey, do you value what we value? And by the way, let me have a conversation with you that I wish somebody had had with me. And, the great thing about what I did, Gary, I think, is that whether they joined Keller Williams or not, whether I got the sponsorship or not, I got fulfillment out of helping somebody make the best decision for themselves. And when you have that kind of mentality, when you're in the business of helping people, you win every time. And then obviously the profit share money will follow. But if you're driven by just making profit share and just recruiting, I don't think that's sustainable. And Gary, particularly in this moment when profit share is down, right? And people seem to be tethered, their motivation seems to be tethered to their next profit share check. Like a lot of people right now, their motivation around profit share is down because maybe their last check wasn't as big as they thought it should have been, right? But the fact is, that's not what our top profit share earners, that's not how they were successful.
No,
they were in the business of helping people, right?
Right. I don't remember that downfall, 2007, 8 as being that down, because that was when profit share was building.
Right. And that was an opportunity too. Right. I mean, I got Brent Mitchell to KW in a shifting market. I got Liz Landry to KW in a shifting market. Right. So these are the times when people need our help more than ever. Right. And I think having that kind of mindset of always being an abundant person who's trying to help people, if that's your why, the money will follow. Right. But profit share is not about selling Keller Williams. It's about helping people. You agree?
I agree. 100%. 100%.
All right. So Gary, we're coming to the end of this call. Okay. Talk about, just give a couple, just go Gary Segal on them. Okay. Go Gary Segal and just talk about, just share a couple of things that's bouncing around in that crazy head of yours. Cause I know that you're just like me. You dream about profit share. This has been a big part of your life for a really long time. Just share a couple things that, just whatever it might be, whatever thoughts that you've had. I've seen you do interviews. I've seen you talk about profit share a lot. Is there anything that we haven't really talked about that, whether it's an analogy, whether it's just something that might spark something in somebody? What would you want to share as sort of a parting shot here?
I would say the more curious you are about somebody, then they're going to believe that you can help them because you're asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And I think that's about the most important thing. And the way that they're going to shift in thinking how you look at them.
Yeah.
You can only, it's such a win-win that I can't think of anything that would be better. It's the best business that I've got. Yeah. And I remember walking into a financial planner and handing them, like your 10-year sheet. And I said, how much money do I need to achieve that? And it was more money than I could ever make.
Yeah.
Or at least me, because I find that it's really exciting that you can work with people that are smarter than you.
No doubt.
In a lot of ways.
And these are the conversations that that our agents should be having with buyers, obviously in this moment as well. I mean, and that's what people I think really need to get is that the mindset around profit shares, the mindset around working with buyers and earning a full commission and continuing to position yourself as the the real estate expert of choice for your database is that you're constantly learning, you're constantly in the mindset of trying to help people. And you're not transactional, right? This is about relationships. It's about, the long term and positioning, and really in this moment, that's why I love what we're doing with our tech is that it's about helping our agents be more human, more often, right? This is the moment where buyers and sellers need great real estate agents and agents need a company that's training and consulting based, that is culture driven and is building technology to help them protect them from an industry that's basically trying to turn them into low paid door openers. Yeah.
And I would think that since what percentage of people are in real estate? Less than 1%.
Yeah.
That you need to look outside the industry because that's where 99% of the talent is.
So true.
And nobody starts in real estate except Gary Keller. Right.
Or one of these kids of one of our top agents who come right into the business and are just crushing it, and many of those people are probably, my guess is, Gary, in their real estate databases right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So maybe just one little tweak of your follow-up with your database to just be intentional about, hey, maybe one way I can help one of my buyers and sellers or former clients is to see if they're interested in starting a real estate career, right? And I always hear people say, well, why would I want one of my buyers and sellers to get into real estate? Because they're going to be competing with me and I'm going to lose them as a client, right? Well, what would you say to somebody who says that, Gary?
Oh, no, some of the best people I know that have gotten into real estate after, referring us 13 deals. Now they get all the referrals, but that still works.
Exactly. And, when you make $1 in passive income versus $1 in having to put all the work into it, you realize that $1 you made passively is worth 100 times more money than that $1 you made selling a house or whatever, right?
I had a mentor before I was in real estate. He said, always listen to gray hair. So when you get older, all of a sudden you realize how important that passive income is because you cannot keep going.
Exactly. And Linda McKissick says it all the time, Gary. Like, what's going to happen the last day you take the day you take the last sign out of that house, right? Your last listing, right? When you sell your last house, what are you going to do? A lot of real estate agents don't think about that. Now they might buy and sell real estate and have an investment portfolio, but and I'm going to finish this quote with one of my favorite things I've ever heard about profit share. Came from Jimmy McKissick. Okay. And I went and saw Jimmy McKissick speak at a hold breakout session at Family Reunion many years ago. And people asked Jimmy, and by the way, for those that don't know, the McKissicks, in a normal market, I don't know what their update is now, but the story was they earned $4 million a year, Gary, in passive income. Okay. They earn over $1 million off their 7th level real estate team that they've leveraged themselves out of. They earn $1 million off the real estate that they own, and they earn $1 million plus in passive income off of profit share every year, right? And when somebody asked Jimmy McKissick to give a parting shot to the room, he said, "You know what? The greatest investment Linda and I ever made was in KW profit share, and nobody ever called me about a busted toilet." Okay, and I just love that line because people need to understand that profit share is 100% passive. Okay. It was always designed to be that way. We don't want to bog our agents down with more responsibilities and duties. It's our job as a company to train and nurture the people you bring into KW. Now, obviously, if you're thinking like a business owner, any impact that you can make on your downline is only going to come back to you many times over, right? But it's not your job to train and nurture the people that you bring to KW. And I want to make a point for those people that, talk about rev share companies. You do understand that at a rev share company, it's actually your job to train and nurture them. Okay. It's not passive. It's actually residual. Okay. And if you're not in one of these super downlines that invests time and money into you, then you're screwed, because there is no incentive at these rev share companies for people to work together and care about each other. They have culture. They just don't have the culture that we have. And so understand that it's purely passive. It's not your job to recruit. And if you can just get purposeful about it in this moment, I'm telling you right now, in 10, 20, 40 years, either you, your kids, or your grandkids are going to be saying, thank God I got purposeful about it in this moment. Yeah.
So get purposeful and take 30 minutes a week and call people.
Exactly.
It works
and
every
Gary,
time.
we always say, don't be a secret agent, right?
Right.
Well, don't be a secret attractor to KW. Right. One of the reasons look, there's been many leads that I've captured over the years. And I always ask on my website, do you know anybody at KW? Have you had a conversation? Was there anybody? Do you have a family member at KW? Right. And I've captured 3,000 recruiting leads myself that said they knew someone at KW. They had a family member at our company, and I found out who they knew, and I sent that lead directly back to them, giving them a chance to recruit them, because one, it's the right thing to do. Two, I don't want to compete with a personal relationship. But here's where I'm going with that conversation, Gary. People should be thinking in the back of their mind, why are 3,000 people that have a personal relationship or a family member at Keller Williams filling out this guy's career form on the internet? It's because you ain't talking to them about Keller Williams. Okay. Now, luckily for you, I captured that lead. Okay. But the point is, never assume. And we have many stories. People like Joe Rothschild in Texas, who was a #1 RE/MAX agent in Texas. People think top agents have been recruited. Many of them have not been recruited because people thought that.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Rothschild picked up the phone and called Mark Willis. That's how he joined KW, right? So one, never assume that someone has even had a conversation with somebody about profit share, and don't be a secret attractor to KW. There are people that right now that are, especially in this moment, Gary, that are in pain if they're in real estate, that are looking for a lifeline, right? And there are people in your database that are thinking about a real estate career right now. So here's the news. If you don't get them to KW, somebody else is. And there's nothing worse, Gary, than walking into your market center and seeing somebody who has joined KW that's put somebody else down as their sponsor, right? All right. So, Gary, I love you, man. You have inspired me, just like Linda McKissick and Dave Jenks. And, I look at where you're at and your wife is at, and that's what gives me the fuel to keep going, because I see you've proven to me. I'm a numbers guy. I know that if I just keep pounding this, success is going to be inevitable, right? And so thank you for all you do for KW, for showing other owners and stakeholders in this company the power of profit share and how important it is to keep it a part of our ecosystem. And I just can't thank you enough for taking your time today to speak with us.
Right. I love what you do.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Take care, man. All right.
Yep. Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it.